Skip the dinner, just have that. I have a friend of mine who does that.
I call this meeting of the Magnolia Independent School District to order. Let the record show that a quorum of board members is present, that this meeting has been duly called, and that notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code, Chapter 551. So if everyone will please stand, Dr. Travis Moffitt will lead us in our invocation.
Please join me in prayer.
Father, thank you so much for a community to live in that's as special as Magnolia. And thank you for all the veterans, especially this time of year, that have served our country to ensure the freedoms that we enjoy right now. Thank you for the staff of MISD and how blessed we are to have the leadership that we have steering the district. Father, we come to you as a bunch of imperfect people asking for help. I love that in your word you remind us that your mercies are new every morning. Thank you that your grace and your love, that you give us your grace and your love that we don't deserve. Remind us that our ultimate joy and hope only comes from you. And finally, guide us as a school district to make decisions that will ultimately glorify you and draw as many people as we can closer to you. It's in your awesome and holy name that we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. So if Kennedy and Preston would come up and lead us in our pledges, that would be awesome. I think you're going to lead us in our U.S. pledge and Preston in our Texas one. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right, we lead right over here.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Under the Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Okay, Preston, you want to stay up here? Kennedy, have a seat.
Good evening, I'm Tammy Haley, principal of Lyon Elementary, and I am so proud to introduce to you Preston Dean, JL Lyon Elementary Student of the Month. Preston is a current 5th grader at Lyon Elementary. He moved to Lyon in 2nd grade, and he is supported tonight by his parents, Travis and Jessica Dean, stand up. His sister, Temperance, she's a 2nd grade student at Lyon Elementary. And he also has a foreign exchange student in his home this year, Young, who is a junior at Magnolia West High School. Also representing here for Preston is Miss Barron. She was Tyler's 3rd grade teacher. Miss Drake, his 5th grade science teacher. Miss Daves, his 5th grade reading teacher, Miss Yu, his 5th grade math teacher, and Miss Green, his project reach teacher. So he has quite a following here with him tonight, so thank you. Preston truly enjoys learning, and he is an all-around great student. He did tell me that science is his favorite subject because his teacher makes it so fun and engaging. And when I asked his teachers to share a few things about Preston, these are some of the things they said. Preston leads by example, and he is everyone's biggest cheerleader. He truly wants to see everyone do their best and succeed. Preston knows no stranger, and he's the first one to greet a new student. He wants to make sure everyone is involved and has a part in any assignment or conversation. Whether it's a book club, science lab, or math project, Preston will push his group to go above and beyond. Preston sees solutions, not problems, and seeks others' opinions to stretch his own learning and thinking. Miss Drake also stated that Preston is a gentle soul and he is very in tune to others' emotions. His empathy leads him to embrace and celebrate the wonderful differences in his classmates. She said having Preston in her class makes her feel like she has won the student lottery. Preston is also in Project Reach, and his teacher, Miss Green, says he is an outstanding student. When she thinks of him, she says his character comes to mind. He is eager to learn, willing to help others, and models leadership through actions. Preston likes thinking outside the box. Away from school, Preston plays baseball for the Magnolia Little League. He's a pitcher and a catcher and played in the championship game this summer. Preston also enjoys reading fiction books. He loves the Harry Potter series and the Percy Jackson books based on Greek mythology. Preston is an active member of the Magnolia First Baptist Church. He said his pastor always delivers a sermon with a clear message. He also enjoys all the activities that the church provides. And during the aftermath of Harvey, Preston did volunteer service work with his church. Preston wants to attend Texas A&M after he graduates. He hopes to be a successful engineer. And we at Line Elementary have no doubt that whatever Preston does, he will be successful at it. I know we can look forward to the future with hope and optimism, knowing our next generation will be led by students like Preston. So I am extremely proud to present Preston Dean as J.L. Lyons Student of the Month.
All right, good evening. I'm Brandon Garson, the principal at West, and one of the great things about working at West is we have a ton of great students to work with. There's a bunch in the back there giving me some dirty looks. Good job. But they are just an awesome group of kids. So tonight we have one of our best. This is Candy Wilde. She's going over here. And her mom and dad are both here. There's Mrs. Wilde, and Mr. Wilde is... There he is. Hey, Mr. Wilde. All right. So she has a lot of accomplishments. So I'm going to go through this in a bulleted list, all right? So she is currently ranked in the top 3% of the class of 2018. And she's a senior, and her current schedule is littered with IB and AP classes. So she is there all day long just getting it done. It's fantastic. Outside the classroom, she's an outstanding leader. She's the president of Student Council and Mu Alpha Theta. She's also the vice president of Interact. She's also a member of the MISC Student Leadership Group, National Honor Society, and Texas Bluebonnet Girls State. She's also a key part of the varsity girls basketball team and also participated in the Mustang Band. She was also selected as the Daughters of the American Revolution Youth Citizenship Award, as well as intern for the Education for Tomorrow Alliance. Breath. Okay. All right. So, also, she's going to go to Baylor next year. She just got an $80,000 scholarship to attend there, which I'm sure will be the first. All right, we have some comments from her teachers. Miss Brown, who's a student council sponsor, says, Candy is an outstanding leader and role model for everyone. Coach Simmons, basketball coach at Magnolia West. Candy is the pinnacle of what we expect our student athletes to be. A leader who gives her all, a warrior on the basketball court, and a paladin, sorry. That's a big word, by the way, for her teammates. In case you didn't know, that means leading a champion of a cause, all right? And she's also one of the most gifted and hardest-working students to ever come through the program. So, we salute Candy. She is literally one of our best and brightest. Candy Wilde.
You're not done, Preston. Come on. Congratulations. Good job. I don't know when you guys find time to sit.
Yeah, I don't know either.
That's awesome. And both of you got a good fan club up here tonight. Woo-hoo. This is good. Now we've got Devon to give you a little something extra.
Hi everyone, my name is Jackie with Devon Urgent Care. Real quick about us, we're participating in Magnolia Cares. So at the end of the month, we'll be giving $500 back to the school district. But if you come and get a flu shot for $10, or if they're $25, $10 will go back to Magnolia Cares. So come support your school, get a flu shot. And then we have gift cards for each of you guys, just to say congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good job. Thank you. The bar just keeps getting higher.
You know, great kids.
That's the truth. Okay, Coach Spradlin, you're ready and,
Yes, sir. Well, I'm Mike Spradlin, I'm athletic director, and I gotta tell you, I'm pretty fired up to be here tonight. We've got, some really good things going on. We're not even halfway through the school year yet, and we're here tonight to honor 3 of those. I do wanna go ahead and tell you, that for the 3rd year in a row, both of our Magnolia schools, Magnolia West and Magnolia High, have qualified for the state football playoffs, which starts this week. So Magnolia West is gonna play on Thursday night at Bryan at 7 p.m. against Leander Rouse. And they have won a district title for the first time in the history of the school. So big deal. Big deal. Them here, when the season's over, we hope that's gonna last a while, maybe be after Christmas, so we'll go from there. And then Magnolia High, is playing, Friday night in Bastrop against Cedar Park High School. And very significant win in Brenham Friday night. They were in a must-win situation, and to go over to Brenham, Texas and play at Brenham, is a testimony to the grit that those kids have and what he and Coach Doty and their staff were able to do. So just a fantastic time for that. So tonight we've got, I'm gonna introduce all 3 of them, and then I'm gonna let Coach Buckley start this thing, and then let's go with Coach Moret and then Coach Saldana after that. But we're here tonight to honor 3 of our athletic teams. I want to brag a little bit on Coach Buckley, and I can't even begin to think about matching her enthusiasm. As you'll see, Coach Buckley was our assistant last year, 2nd year at Magnolia West this year. And I'm going to be honest with you, when we got ready to look for a volleyball coach, you kind of tend to stack the deck, if you will, from a standpoint of kind of measuring everyone else up against who you think might be your person. And so I'll be honest with you, and I don't know if I've ever told her this, but we kind of went into this thing hoping that Emily would rise to the top and be our coach, and she did that, and did it as good as you could do it. Was great in the interviews. Dr. Garza and I interviewed along with Coach Barna 3 or 4 different candidates, and it was clear that Coach Buckley had what we needed, and it couldn't have been proved any more this year by the job that she and her girls did. She's got Coach McCardle with her tonight. We're really fortunate to have Coach McCardle. She is new as well. I'll let Emily talk a little bit about her. Coach Moret has coached our cross-country team over at West. Done a tremendous job. He's extremely dedicated. Let me tell you a little bit, Coach Saldana, about cross-country. When you drive by these schools in the mornings, those lights are on because those kids are there. They might be the most dedicated athletes, honestly, in our school district. I mean, no one gets up in the mornings like those guys and girls do on our cross-country teams and does what they do every morning. I drive by Magnolia High every morning coming to work, and those lights are on, and I know who's out there. And it's Coach Saldana and those kids that they have. Coach Moret, it's just a very dedicated group. And we had state qualifiers this year. They did a great job with that. So we're just very, very fortunate to have who we have. Hope that you guys will welcome Coach Buckley, and Coach McCardle, and Coach Moret, and Coach Saldana. All right, Coach Buckley. She's pretty subdued. So hold your, she's kind of monotone.
Well, yeah. Thank you so much. First of all, I stood up here a little while ago and I had some good, big plans for these girls, and I could not be more proud of them. They rose to the occasion, and I really am humbled and thankful for the opportunity that I have had to coach these amazing young women this season. We had a couple goals at the beginning of the year, and we rose and we conquered every one of them. And it speaks for their character. We started out 0-4, which for a coach, I about had a heart attack and a half. But I have to tell you that we ended 9-5, which means that they killed it the second round and a half of districts. And I could not, it's a testament to their grit and their determination and their hard work and just their trust in each other and of us. And they really did a fantastic job. And I could not be more proud of them. Last year, we missed playoffs. There was no playoffs for Magnolia West. And that was something that was right up there at the top. We need to make playoffs. They wanted to make playoffs. And with the start that we had, I think they started to sweat a little bit, and then they just picked themselves up, and off they went, and we accomplished that. We had to play Rouse first round, so I'm really hoping that all the athleticism of Rouse went into volleyball, and that our football team has a better outcome than we did. But nonetheless, again, Rouse right now is going to the state championship. So we had a tough first round, but I'm proud of them. They didn't give up, and they went after it. Coach McCardle is new this year. She has been the foundation of our program. I could not have asked for a better assistant coach than Coach McCardle. She played at SFA, and she brought all of her volleyball knowledge and her enthusiasm and young and vibrance to our program, and she made it what it is today. So I really have to give her most of the credit. I'm going to have the girls introduce themselves because I appreciate you letting us be honored tonight at the board meeting. So they're just going to say their name, what year of school they are, and what position they play. We'll make it short and sweet, and then we'll turn the time over to cross country.
Okay. Hi, I'm Hannah Eggleston. I'm a junior and I'm a middle blocker.
Hi, Alyssa May, freshman starter. Hi, Jessica Diaz, junior.
Hi, I'm Brooke. I'm a sophomore, and I'm an outside hitter.
Hi, I'm Kai, I'm a senior and I'm a defense specialist. I'm Sydney, I'm a right side and I'm a senior. I'm Kylie, I'm a sophomore and I'm a Diaz.
You're a junior.
I'm a junior. I'm Kendall, I'm a junior and I'm a middle blocker.
I'm Peyton. I'm a junior, and I'm a right side.
I'm Kendall. I'm a junior and I play middle and right side.
Everything. She's our utility.
I'm Kara. I'm a junior and I'm a setter.
I'm Riley. I'm a junior, and I'm an outside hitter.
I'm Ronnie, I'm a junior and I play outside. I'm Alyssa, I'm a senior, I'm an outside hitter, and I'm committed to Southwestern University.
Again, as you can see, there's never a dull moment in our program on the court or off the court, and we've just had a fantastic season. So thank you again for all of your support and letting us be here tonight.
I'm Dustin Moret. I'm the cross-country coach at Magnolia West. Thank you to Dr. Stevens and the board for having us here to recognize all of these athletes. This is Peyton McQuillan. She's a sophomore. She had a really outstanding year this year, qualified for state as an individual. She's a sophomore, and this is her second year qualifying to run at state. Last year, she was 19th in the state as a freshman. This year, with the cancellations and the weather, and I'm sure Coach Saldana can tell you about kind of the up and down season we've had with all that. Missed a little time with her hip. She had a little bit of an injury there. And with all that, she was still able to improve. She was 11th this year out of 150 runners. And so, it was very impressive with just her place. She improved her time over 30 seconds from last year, even with all that. Fastest at state, she's the fastest runner from our district, one of the toughest districts in the state, and one of the toughest regions in the state. She was the fastest runner out of everyone that was representing Region 3. So we've got her coming back for the next 2 years. We're really excited about that. She's a dual sport athlete as well. She does swim, commits equal time to both all summer long. Even throughout the season, she committed time to both. It's just a testament to her character and the effort that she puts in. She's a leader, really pushes our team. We've got a good group coming back, and she's really leading the way. And so we're just really excited to have her back and see what she can do the next 2 years.
Hi, I'm Kristen Saldana, if I knew my last name. A little nervous today. I am the girls and boys head cross-country coach at Magnolia High School, so we appreciate you letting us come here today. This is my assistant, Mark Kovach. He is new to cross-country, if you can't tell. But I think that he is a cross-country runner at heart because his humor, his motivating words, the way he is with the kids, it's just been a great asset to us this year. I'm going to let the girls say their name real quick, and then I'll tell you a little bit about the rest of our program.
I'm Caitlin, and I'm a junior.
I'm Joanna, and I'm a freshman.
I'm Abby, and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Audrey Mullen, I'm a junior. I'm Michelle, I'm a junior. I'm Isabel, and I'm a junior. I'm Kirsten, I'm a senior. I'm Emma, and I'm a freshman.
And last year we made it to state, and we were 11th. This year we were 8th overall as a team, so we're moving in the right direction. We had 3 this year that placed in the top 33 at state, and they're all returning. So I think you have some good things to come in the future, definitely for Magnolia High School cross country. One thing I do want to touch on, just for a second, is that during the hurricane this year, my parents lost everything. Just to let you know, this group of girls, not only are they talented athletes, but they were either at my parents' house doing the demo, bringing me homemade lasagna and pies, or giving my parents gift cards to Target. So not only are they wonderful, or not only are they talented athletes, but they're just wonderful people as well, and that makes me most proud. So again, the Magnolia girls.
That's awesome. You know, there's, a lot of schools have nothing but seniors on winning teams, and we've got,
Start them young,
that's right.
success all the way up
That's
and down
pretty
the
cool to
ladder.
have success like that
Absolutely. Future's bright,
with a bunch of good ladies. Thank you all.
good coaches.
That's right. Absolutely. Thank you all. Appreciate that. Okay, Ms. Guston?
That time of year.
That time of year? I've grown to know this time of year is flag season. I'm Carrie Guston. I'm the advanced academics teacher for Magnolia Elementary and Williams Elementary Schools and co-founder of Magnolia ISD Flags for Our Heroes. MISD Flags for Our Heroes is an annual event giving Magnolia ISD students, staff, and their families the opportunity to honor the memories of United States soldiers and their family members who've been laid to rest at the Houston National Cemetery with American flags on Veterans Day. This year marks our 8th annual event. Our first 3 events were held on Memorial Day. During our first event, we were able to honor the memories of 1,100 of our nation's heroes. During our second campaign, the number increased to 2,000. During our third and fourth events, we held steady at 4,000. During our fourth campaign, we moved the event to the weekend before Veterans Day. It was also during our fourth event that we were able to begin retrieving our flags from the cemetery, which allowed us to increase the number of soldiers remembered during our fifth and sixth events to 6,000, increasing to 6,600 during last year's campaign. Last year, during our 7th annual campaign's flag retrieval, Scott Weber, the groundskeeper at the cemetery, offered us several hundred flags that were left unclaimed. We gratefully accepted his offer and stored them for use during this year's campaign. As we were about to launch our 8th campaign in August, we had an unwelcome visitor to the Houston area named Harvey. So not only did Harvey disrupt our personal and instructional plans for the beginning of this school year, it also caused a major shift in our priorities. In an effort to maintain our community's focus on the needs of those affected by Harvey's devastation, we chose to suspend fundraising efforts for this year's campaign. On Saturday, November 4th at 9 a.m., we were joined at the Houston National Cemetery by approximately 75 students, staff members, and their families, representing Williams Elementary, Magnolia Elementary, Nichols Sawmill Elementary, Bear Branch Junior High, Magnolia West High School, and Magnolia High School, along with the Sam Houston State University Literacy Block Method students based at Williams Elementary to place flags. Here is a short video of this year's event. Commander Bedell and our NJROTC students from both high schools continued their tradition of placing additional flags, which I hold in reserve for them each year, during a field trip last Thursday. Between these two events, we placed a total of 7,350 flags during this year's campaign. Over the past several years, there have been many challenges associated with moving our event from Memorial Day to Veterans Day. One of the more complex challenges is the tight fundraising timeline at the beginning of school. Aside from the fact that fall semester is fundraising season for every activity on every campus, the window of time between the beginning of the year and our event is just not long enough to collect funds, order flags, and have them available for Veterans Day. With this in mind, we have plans to reach out to our local business community to help us with increasing the size of our flag inventory for next year's event. And glancing around the room, I see that there are many people that could be helpful with that. So I would be delighted to have a conversation with anyone who's interested. Another challenge we've encountered in the midst of our multi-year construction and renovation project at Williams Elementary is storage space for our flags in between events. And I'm very happy to announce that Mr. Massey from Magnolia West High School, go Mustangs, has offered to store our flags for us. I also want to acknowledge Marcia McConnell from Williams Elementary, who not only assists me with the event, but delivers flags to Commander Bedell and organizes our volunteers who sort, bundle, and store our flag for each year's event. Williams Elementary Tammy Lewis for handling funds and flag orders for us. Assistant Principal Andrea Harper for providing a trailer to transport flags each year. And both of my principals, Kelly Jones and Letty Roman, for their unwavering support and commitment to the success of this year's campaign. I also want to thank our district administration and our Board of Trustees for your continued support of the program. And I would like to invite everyone here to meet us at the cemetery this Saturday, November 18th at 9 a.m. for our annual flag retrieval, where we will gather our flags to be transported to Williams Elementary and prepared for storage. For more information about current and future Flags for Our Heroes events, you can go to the Flags for Our Heroes website at bit.ly/Flags for Our Heroes, and it can also be accessed from the Williams Elementary homepage and both of my teacher pages at Magnolia Elementary and Williams Elementary. And finally, to any veterans and military family members who might be with us this evening, I extend my sincerest thanks for your service and for our freedom. And as always, we hope to see you at the cemetery. Thank you.
Thank you very much. 70,000 plus flags.
Great.
Wow.
That's great. This thing has just continued to grow over the years, and I appreciate you for championing that and allow our kids to have an opportunity to get back and realize freedom isn't free. Thank you, Carrie. Mr. Daniels.
Gives me great pleasure tonight to introduce the teacher from Magnolia High School, Miss Bethany Witten. She is our agricultural science teacher at Magnolia High School, and she will present and introduce the Magnolia High School FFA students. But before we do that, just share with you just a little bit about Miss Witten. She was in FFA when she was in high school, and she participated in many leadership development events, such as chapter conducting and public relations. She's going to share a special announcement with y'all about this group of students and their public relations and speaking engagement. She's participated in judging contests such as poultry judging and livestock judging. She has shown all kinds of livestock, and she started in 3rd grade in FFA. This is her 2nd year teaching in the agricultural science area. She started in Onalaska, and then we were able to capture her and grab her up this year here in Magnolia. And she has her bachelor's and master's degrees from Sam Houston State University. So this time she'll introduce the students.
As he said, my name is Bethany Witten. I am one of the ag teachers at Magnolia High School. And tonight I have the Ag Issues team, which is a leadership development event. These events are basically to help kids flourish in their speaking abilities. And what this event in particular is about is they researched, with the help of myself, they researched a ag issue topic, something that's kind of controversial right now, and then they had to make a presentation with pros and cons to basically educate their community. So that's why they're here tonight, is to tell you about their ag issue. It is a competitive event. We competed at district last Friday, and they actually won district. They were first in their event, which is exciting. We are not like sports in the fact that we compete against everybody from 1A to 6A. We compete all against each other. So we will be against Katy ISD on Saturday. We'll be against Cy-Fair, all those really big school districts. So they definitely did well, and they're looking forward to this weekend when they go to area. So I will turn it over to them. They will have a presentation. It'll be up here, so you might kind of have to look back and forth, but the presentation does go with their script.
This just in. China has agreed to trade beef with the United States once again. Did you hear me? China has agreed to trade beef again. After 14 years, China is once again importing beef from the United States. According to an agreement, United States President Donald Trump and Chinese President Xi Jinping announced in May of this year.
Good evening. We are the Magnolia FFA Agricultural Issues Team, here today to talk to you about the United States and China trading beef once again. My name is Elizabeth Moore, and I have here with me today Alex Gomez,
Josh Martin,
Allie Holder, Ashlyn Carroll,
and Ryan Langford.
On December 23rd, 2003, China banned all beef trade with the United States due to an outbreak of mad cow disease, which can contaminate the meat, making it dangerous for ingestion.
though the meat exported was not affected. Within hours of China canceling their agreement, over 100 other countries banned the importation as well, virtually wiping out U.S. beef in overseas markets.
At that time, the United States was providing 70% of China's total beef intake, but that came to a sudden halt.
In September of 2016, China moved to reopen the market to U.S. beef, which got the ball rolling to reinstate trade between the two countries.
After signing the 100-day action plan, which required the export of meat from the United States to begin no later than July 16, 2017, U.S. beef producers began preparing to ship out their product once again to China.
The first shipment was actually on June 19, 2017, and has been sent ever since.
Now let's hear from Ashlyn Carroll and Ryan Langford to discuss the benefits and change in legislature. Later we'll hear from Josh Martin and Alex Gomez on the cons of trading beef to China. To you, Ashlyn.
Increase in trade, increase in production, increase in money to our economy. What could be better?
I can't think of anything.
Pro number one for the trade of beef with China, there will be a huge increase in economic value to the United States because of the increase in demand for beef products.
Because of this new agreement, beef producers will be provided with another outlet for their product to be sold to, rather than solely for the United States food consumption. I know in our hometown alone, this could be a great opportunity for our commercial cattle raisers.
According to the United States Department of Agriculture, in 2012, U.S. beef exports totaled to $5.8 billion to only 112 countries, which is about $71,000 per country.
In 2003, the last year we traded beef with China, $10 million of their total $15 million in imports was from the United States alone.
Whoa, imagine how much more it could be now. We could greatly increase our income from one country alone.
China imported almost 580,000 tons of whole carcasses last year alone. Imagine being able to supply a majority of that demand.
We might just be able to move from the number 4 exporter of beef in the world to number 1, above Brazil and Australia.
We may be able to surpass them in numbers, but can our quality of beef stay at the level it's at to be competitive with the grass-fed beef Brazil and Australia produce?
Is it true that they're able to produce their beef at a much lower cost than us as well? If that is the case, it would be extremely difficult to surpass them.
Okay, let's just focus on filling the demand we have now, everyone, before we worry about being number 1.
That's a great part to start us off, Ashlyn. Now let's talk about pro number 2. This agreement encourages the relationship with the United States and China, therefore encouraging further trade with them and possibly other countries.
That would be great with the giant player China is in our world economy.
Currently, the United States trades soybeans, corn, hides, pork, and cotton. Through the 100-day action plan, we'll be adding chicken and beef to that list.
All of these exports totaled to about $116 billion last year. That's a lot of money in the United States economy's pockets.
Maybe we could start paying off our national debt.
Hopefully, in years to come, we can greatly increase that list by adding more agricultural commodities such as more vegetables.
That would also give farmers throughout our country more opportunity for the consumption of their products.
I'm sure all farmers would be happy to hear that there was more of a demand for their commodity, and that they would not have to worry about if all of their products would be purchased each year.
Let's continue with our final pro for today. The quality of meat we consume here in the United States will increase because of the restrictions we must now follow according to the Chinese government.
Hold on. Don't you think that that would be a huge burden of cost for the United States to begin certifying that these restrictions are being followed? Can we really handle all that expense?
You have a point, Josh. However, think about the extreme increase in quality of product we begin consuming. I think that alone is reason enough to consider these changes as a positive step for our industry.
For example, the maximum age threshold that China requires will ensure a product that is young, less fattened, and mad cow-free.
Whoa!
I don't think anyone can complain about mad cow-free meat.
Also, we need to have better documentation on where these animals have been before being processed, so we have a better knowledge of the conditions these animals are raised in before being consumed.
Those are all great points, Ashlyn and Ryan. Thank you for your input on the United States' newest global agricultural endeavor.
Absolutely, Elizabeth. Now let's hear from Josh and Alex on the cons of breeding staying beef trade to China. To you, Josh.
Picture this. Every calf born in the United States or imported will have to have a birth certificate, just like every baby born.
Con number 1 for the trade of beef with China. All beef must be 30 months of age or younger with documentation in order to be exported for consumption.
Age will be a significant addition to the restrictions of trading beef with China, considering that currently in the United States, there is no age restriction for beef that is sold for consumption.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. Correct me if I'm wrong. But don't we already keep registration papers on cattle, complete with birth date and even their parents' information?
Yes, Ryan, but only on cattle used for breeding, not for those specified for consumption. For example, show heifers must be registered, but show steers do not.
With these new restrictions, every animal will have to have some sort of paperwork or physical marker indicating their birth date in order for us to ensure that they do not exceed the 30 months of age threshold.
So, using dairy cattle, no longer suitable for milk production, as a source of beef will not be allowed for trade as it is here.
This will cause beef producers to be on a strict timeline, seeing as calves are weaned at 9 months old and can take up to a year and a half to the appropriate size for processing. Even longer if you want a higher quality grade of meat such as prime or choice to get to market when necessary.
I'm just not so sure that 30 months will be an adequate amount of time for every single calf to get the proper size, especially in our up-and-coming grass-fed beef market. When not fed the high-grain diet of the feedlot, it tends to take much longer to get the adequate fat for the consumer's taste preferences.
Wow. Who knew there'd be such a difference based on their diet?
Con number 2 for the restrictions of trading beef with China is that all beef products being exported to China must be from cattle that were born, raised, and processed in the United States, or from cattle that were imported from Canada and Mexico and raised and processed in the United States.
Can we really survive on an industry that provides all of the cattle for our country and China while only allowing imports of live animals from Canada and Mexico?
And keep in mind that the majority of beef product trade between the U.S. and these countries are U.S. exports to Canada and Mexico, not imports. Therefore, the primary responsibility of producing beef will be the United States beef industry shoulders.
I guess it's a good thing that the United States is the #1 producer of beef cattle in the world. And even better for us, Texas is the #1 producing state of beef cattle, producing more than the next 2 largest producing states combined. Am I right? It sounds like if anyone can handle this task, it's going to be us.
That may be so, but what will we do if our demand surpasses our supply and we're unable to provide what we've promised? Too much of a good thing isn't always the best either, people.
Well, everybody, let's just be thankful we're able to supply enough for our demand in the United States and overseas. Alex, you have the next con for us?
And for our final con, all cattle must have documentation of origin. Therefore, our paperwork on every individual animal that comes through must state their birth farm with the unique identifier, or first place of residency and port of entry if not from the United States.
So you're saying that that's another piece of information that must be included with all of these animals that wasn't required before?
Can you imagine the headache that will come with the piles of paperwork that will soon haunt the office staff of every beef cattle producer in the United States? Yikes.
I know one thing. I wouldn't want to have another task such as that to my already full plate.
As of right now, it is not required for these animals to have documentation of origin. However, any animal that is destined for exportation must have records that follow them throughout their lives. So, from breeder to producer, from stalker to feeder, and finally to the packer, those forms must be transferred.
Does anyone really have that much extra time on their hands?
There just seems to be too many restrictions for this new trade agreement to be the best for our beef industry, especially for our local farmers and ranchers.
Now, we can't say all these restrictions are bad or even new. Don't forget that chilled or frozen, bone-in, and deboned beef products can be shipped, so we won't have to change the current system for those things.
You're right, Ryan. And meat must be uniquely labeled, identified, and controlled until shipment, which is already done throughout the United States.
That may be so, but this seems like a lot of changes and even more money spent on this endeavor.
Thank you, Ashlyn and Ryan, for showing us the positive impacts of trading beef. And thank you, Alex and Josh, for showing us the difficulties we will soon be facing, if not already, from the 100-day action plan.
Let's quickly review our pros once again.
Pro number 1, increasing our economy.
Pro number 2, strengthen our relationship with China to encourage further trade.
And pro number 3, enhance beef quality due to new restrictions.
And con.
Con number 1 is the age restriction is 30 months or younger.
Con number 2, all beef must be originally from the United States or imported from Canada or Mexico.
And con number 3 is that all cattle must have documentation of origin, indicating their birth farm, first place of residency, and port of entry, if not from the United States.
As you can see, this is a hot topic in the agricultural industry. We hope you have been informed on the latest opportunity for beef producers in the United States, as well as the pros and cons of it.
Please tune in next week as we discuss the differences of grass-fed and grain-fed beef, as this topic may be a major player in this trade agreement as well.
Thank you.
Thank you all. That was very impressive. That was good.
Great job.
Yeah. I never knew the FFA was so diverse.
District champ. And Ms. Wynn, what is the first big district that's going to lose to Magnolia next weekend?
Katy High School.
There you go. All right. Good luck.
That was well done. Thank you very much. All right, we invite you, we're going to take a short break, but we invite you to stay for the rest of the meeting if you choose, but if not, it's an opportunity for you to log on out. So we'll take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Okay, Ms. Hinkleman, do we have anybody signed up to speak?
No, sir.
All right, thank you very much. All right, we're going to shift the order of things just a little bit so that Ms. Scotty can get up and join us. And by the way, this is an item for us to review. We don't have to take any action on it, so she's going to present to us our tax collector report.
Thank you very much. I'm Leslie Scotty, a partner with Purdue, Brandon, Filbert, Collins, and Mott, and we do the delinquent tax collection for the district. So as we're going through the report, I do want you to note these are delinquent taxes only. The tax office does a really fantastic job of collecting the current, so they collect about 95%, about 5% gets turned over to me every July to collect. So by law, the taxing entities can contract with a delinquent collection firm, and our fees are passed on to the taxpayer, so it's no cost to the school district. So the taxes go delinquent typically in February. The taxpayer gets a notice in between February and July. If the taxes are not paid current by July, my fee tacks on. So just in a nutshell, that's how it works. And I do want you to note as we go through the report that due to the unfortunate events and Hurricane Harvey, the tax assessor collector asked us to refrain from collecting efforts during the month of September. So we set out September. That included phone calls, letter writing, new suit filings. We did prosecute the suits we had already filed and do new trial settings on those suits. However, it did negatively affect collection efforts for a while. So please keep that in mind as we go through the report. We are back in full swing now. So please keep that in mind. The assessor collector also asked us to refrain from setting anything for tax sale until December of this year, so all with good reason. So without further ado, I'll proceed into the collection report. The first chart we have is the account breakdown chart, and you'll notice the largest section is the action pending section at 49%. So most of these are 2016 delinquencies that were just turned over to us July 1, so we're currently in the process of making phone calls, sending letters to lien holders, trying to get somebody's attention to let them know the severity of the issue and let them know that the tax lien could be foreclosed if they don't get in a payment agreement or pay the tax or make some commitment, work with us in some type of way. So I do want you to note in this action pending section, there are two very large delinquencies that are a conglomerate of several different accounts. There's almost about $300,000 in base tax due, and this has been ongoing, so you've heard me speak about it before. So they're not collectible at this time because there's appraisal suit over the valuation. It's compressors, oil-filled compressors, And so the taxpayers are arguing that they're not taxable at the location that, the situs location, i.e. Montgomery County, here in your school district. So we're waiting for a resolution on that. Now I'll go into more detail at the end of the report. The next largest section is the deferral section at 24%. So taxpayers may elect to defer the payment of delinquent taxes on their residential homestead if they're 65 or older or disabled. So we cannot collect these accounts with good reason. Next largest section is the litigation section at 14%. Accounts go into litigation when the phone calls and the letters are unsuccessful and we don't get the taxpayers' attention, or they're unable to come to some resolution or get in some kind of payment agreement. So we do have the ability to foreclose on the tax lien if it comes to that. However, we don't take this lightly. I do want the district to know that we try to work with the taxpayer as much as possible, try to get them into some kind of payment arrangement, something that is mutually agreeable between us and them. So we work with the taxpayers all along the way. The next chart is the dollar range chart. And so keep in mind that this is just another collection tool. It may be that one taxpayer owes on several different accounts. So for example, we lump together accounts that have common ownership. So the 10,000 and up section, for example, which consists of about 31% of the roll, it may be that one taxpayer owes on several different accounts. And so it may not be just one account that's $10,000 and up in delinquency. It may be that we combine several delinquent accounts together with common ownership, and that's for our efficiency, so that we can collect several accounts with one phone call rather than calling a particular taxpayer seven different times. We just like to be efficient. So this is basically just another collection tool, and it helps me to direct our staff and what needs to be collected first. The next chart is the tax year chart, and you'll notice that the largest section is the 2016 delinquencies. It's 38%. We began collecting on these on July 1. And you'll notice after the 2016 section, the percentages increasingly go down. And I believe I have not been keeping up with the PowerPoint. I apologize. So do note on the 1992 through 2008 section at 12%, they're actually very small percentages due for each of those tax years. We just lump them all together for the ease of creating the pie. And some of the reasons for some of those older delinquencies may be that the property is in the tax trust, meaning that we filed a lawsuit, got a judgment, had a tax sale, and nobody appeared to bid on the property, so it becomes struck off to the taxing jurisdictions. We hold those in the tax trust, and if you're ever interested in seeing if there's property in the tax trust, you can go on our website, www.pbfcm.com. I believe it's on the front page of the report, and see if there's anything in the tax trust for the district. Those are available for tax resale, and we market them as such. Another reason for some of those older delinquencies may be that there's an over 65 deferral on the account, so we've been unable to collect on the account because it is in a deferred status. Or it could be that the appraisal district has a bad address on the account. We research those year-round, trying to find a good address and reach out to the taxpayer or the taxpayer's heirs. Or there could be some kind of title issue, or the appraisal district has it unmapped. So we also work with the appraisal district trying to resolve those issues. So the next 7 charts are the history charts, and you will see they span from 2011 through 2016. I'll focus on the last 2, which are the 15 and 16 historical collection data. You'll see for the 2015 tax year, we're at 80% collected. If you look on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see the amount that was originally turned over to us for collections. And you'll see at the bottom of the chart what is remaining in delinquencies versus what we've collected. So we're 80.22% for the 2015 tax year. And moving on to the 2016 tax year, we're at 41.09% collected. So now that we're back doing in full swing with our collection efforts, you'll really see that ramp up over the next few months and before I'm back in the spring. So I mentioned earlier that there were 2 very large delinquent taxpayers that have the appraisal suits pending. So they've sued the Montgomery County Appraisal District over the valuation, and they collectively have an outstanding base tax of $280,887. So it's having a major effect on the 2012 through 16 collection percentages. We're not going to be able to collect on these until there's an outcome of a case pending at the Texas Supreme Court. So they have gone through the process. The taxpayers sued the appraisal district, didn't like the result, appealed to the appellate court, didn't like the result, and now have appealed to the Texas Supreme Court. So once we get an outcome on those cases, it's going to guide other appraisal districts and other taxpayers on how to, it's going to create case law and tell us how to treat the delinquencies. And this is statewide with these 2 delinquent taxpayers over these compressor accounts. So hopefully we'll see that resolved in the next few years. It's been ongoing since 2012. So yeah, I'll be happy to see that resolved. So they'll either go away or they'll be collected. If the taxpayer wins, they're arguing that it's not taxable, period, that it's taxable elsewhere and that they paid taxes elsewhere on this same property. So, any questions?
Do you know when the Supreme Court case is going to be?
You know, I don't, and I can look into it and figure out and get back with you guys. I haven't looked in on it in a little while. But if y'all are interested in what's currently going on, I'm happy to give y'all an update. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Scotty.
As always, I certainly appreciate the time.
Always good to have an update.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for the good work you're doing. Okay, Mr. Bruner.
Close this out. It didn't get used much anyway. All right, just bring you briefly up to date on construction. Starting at Magnolia Intermediate, this project's basically completed. There's a few things that we're working on, but as far as substantial completion, we're there. We're waiting on a certificate of occupancy. We've gone through the inspection process with the city and the fire inspector. We are working on a punch list right now. We are looking at furniture in sometime in February, March. It may be a little bit of both of those months. It's going to take a little while to get it all ordered and get it in. But we'll certainly be ready for occupancy by the summer. So shot's taken today, the main entrance. This is the canopy that connects the 2 schools. So you could really walk between Magnolia Intermediate and Magnolia Junior High, during inclement weather without a problem. This will be a real key once we open up, and this will become the drop-off locations. If you're a parent dropping off 2 students, one's going to the intermediate and one's going to junior high, they can get out of the car at the same location and get to both schools. This is a shot of the courtyard. This is sort of a neat feature that we kind of created, and this was due primarily because of the elevation changes. We had to set the intermediate at a slightly higher elevation, but it created this little courtyard area, and it's turned out really nice. Shot of the interior. This is the library. It's pretty much a finished product. Just need to determine our furniture needs and get those ordered. A shot of Main Street corridor. Again, this is the porcelain tile finishes, floor and wall. Shot of the cafeteria. I know it looks like I was taking a picture of the ladder, but I really wasn't. This is one of the unique features of both these intermediate schools are the learning stairs. This is the finished product, gives you a better idea. So where you could take several classrooms and sit them down and, in just a little bit of a different environment than a classroom. This is a shot of some of the typical features of classroom. This in particular is a science lab, but you can see the direction we've taken technology-wise with an interactive TV screen there versus the smart boards. Moving on to Bear Branch Intermediate, you know, as you know, it's been slightly behind Magnolia with a later start date. Basically, the exterior of the building is 100% complete. We're still working on some of the exterior grading and the landscaping and things of those nature, but the building for itself is complete. We're working on interior finishes now. We're working on above ceiling punch list items, that's MEP stuff. Working on still working on the low voltage stuff, you know, all the technology. Casework's complete. They were putting in the last of the kitchen equipment today. We had a little bit of a delay on our VCT flooring, but that'll go in, start later this month. And we're still on schedule for a spring break completion. Here's a shot of the main entrance at Bear Branch. Sort of a shot of the exterior finishes, and you can see the landscaping that's been going in. We've done a lot of landscaping around the existing building as well to enhance the beauty of that facility. This gives you a shot of what it looks in front of Bear Branch. This is the existing Bear Branch 6th grade that's now being incorporated into the intermediate. And
Some of you were around.
For those of
in
you
some
familiar,
those
yeah.
committee meetings, you remember one of the things that we promised that group was that when they looked at this building, they weren't going to be able to recognize that looked like the old Bear Branch, 6th grade Bear Branch Elementary. And I think Tim and his team's done a fantastic job of getting, I mean, that looks fantastic. It really ties in architecturally and everything else to the new construction.
Yeah, with the exterior finish and the landscaping and the canopies, it looks dramatically different. This is a shot of Main Street. This is, I just like this shot because of the pendant lighting. You know, I think it'll be a nice feature when you walk in that building. This is a little different, unique feature that we're working on at Bear Branch Intermediate as well. We sort of, because of the elevation and the drop-off that we had, we sort of created a little bit of a bowl on the back of this building. So what we're doing is we're kind of creating a little bit of an outdoor learning environment, amphitheater. There's a lot of things you could probably call it. We're using stone to give it a more natural look. By the time we landscape it and put some shrubbery around the outside of it, I just think it's going to be a nice place, particularly this time of year when the weather's good. Take a classroom or a couple of classrooms outside and into a little different learning environment. And we just sort of stumbled across this, and I think it's going to be a nice feature. The additions to Bear Branch Junior High, this is the locker room addition. As you can see, it's moving along pretty quickly. We are hoping for, I would say conservatively, an April 1 completion on these, but I really expect them to be done sooner. And here's a shot of the band hall on the back side of the building. The district conference center, the building's pretty much dried in. We have the first ply of the roof on. We're still working, still have some concrete paving work to do. This is the point of the job where we're working on exterior finishes, the brick. We've got the building's pretty much about 90% waterproof. We'll be installing the brick and block, exterior brick and block after that. The MEP rough-in is continuing on the inside. You can see this is a shot of the porte-cochere as you pull up. This will be the drop-off area. It's kind of dark in here. I apologize for that, but this is a shot of the main ballrooms as you look across, and the MEP work going on overhead. And you can see the structural entities there that'll hold the movable partitions. Again, this, you know, drywall studs, above ceiling MEP work going on. That's pretty much it. Gets us up to date. You guys have any questions? No?
Looks
good. All right. Looks good. Thank you.
Looks great, Tim. Thank you. Okay, so we're moving on to our consent agenda. This portion of the agenda consists of items to be routine and be enacted by one motion unless separate discussion is requested. So if anybody has any questions or comments. Otherwise, we need a motion to approve consent agenda items A through D. Sonia, motion seconded by Kelly. All in favor? That motion passes. Okay, next on deck is Dr. Bullock. And this item is for review also, just no action on our part.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Blizzard. This is Policy Update 109 that comes from changes out of the 85th legislative session. Board members have been provided with a packet with a lot of detailed information on the local policies and a list of the legal policies that are affected. 17 local policies and a whole bunch of legal policies that come with changes out of the legislative session. I'm not going to go over them all. Tonight's for review, so board members, as you look over your packet, this will be an action item for next month, so should there be things that you want us to address for that, please let me know.
So there's homework for them.
That's right, a little homework. Any questions at this point?
Quite a number of items on there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Busy session. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, Dr. Morris, you're up next.
Thank you, Mr. Blizzard. First off, under 9C, we have considered and approved the resolution authorizing the reappraisal of property within MISD damage due to Hurricane Harvey. Just to give the board quick background on this, anytime the governor declares a state of disaster within a county, Texas Tax Code allows the governing body of the taxing entity to authorize a reappraisal of properties affected by the event. Obviously, during Hurricane Harvey, our area was assigned as a disaster declaration by the governor. Montgomery Central Appraisal District has been reappraising the properties for a considerable amount of time over the last several weeks and months. So the taxing entities who wish to allow for the reappraisal to affect their entity's taxes have the ability to approve a resolution to do so, okay? So obviously you need to understand what we're committing to. If we approve this resolution, what we are committing to is to paying the reappraisal processing fees, and then of course the likelihood of a reduction in property value and tax revenue. And looking at the relatively minimal numbers of properties within MISD that were affected, luckily and fortunately, compared to some of our neighbors, we believe that the cost will be minimal to the school district in terms of what we might lose. We have a conservative estimate of less than $60,000 for what we might lose in overall processing fees and tax revenue lost. And I know we talked to the board a little bit about this a month ago, but you know, based on the relatively small amount of money that we would lose from these reappraisals, and also in line with, you know, doing what's right by our taxpayers in terms of positively impacting those who have been negatively impacted by Hurricane Harvey, administration is recommending approval of this resolution. I'd be glad to answer any questions.
No questions. It's great to be in a place that we're blessed without problems, but it wasn't 100%.
No, absolutely, and we know that like we said, some other school districts, they're having to take a step back and really look at this in much detail because of the possible amount of revenue that they'll lose within their budgets. And we're very lucky that a minimal number of properties have been affected within our district. So, but do feel like it's the right thing, you know, based on what we would lose as well.
No question.
It'll make a difference to those few homeowners.
Absolutely.
You know.
And for this tax year, it is prorated, so they will see a positive impact for basically the last 4 months of the tax year. And then we assume that obviously those properties would be affected for the subsequent years as well, until they have time to catch up, so to speak.
Some of them could be actually affected for some long-term.
Absolutely.
Based on the fact that they
Yes, sir.
flooded near some.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so if there's no questions or comments, we need a motion to approve the resolution in order of the School Board of Magnolia ISD, Texas, authorizing the reappraisal of property within Magnolia ISD damaged by severe weather and flooding events related to Hurricane Harvey, authorizing reimbursement and sharing of cost of the reappraisal, and providing for the prorating taxes on such damaged property as allowed under section 23.02 of the Texas Tax Code. Need a motion by Christie, seconded by Joe. All in favor? That motion passes. Thank you, Dr. Morris.
Yes, sir.
And you can continue on.
Yes, sir. On D, we have consider and approve a resolution regarding seatbelts on buses. Just to give the board just a quick background on this. For many years, our legislators have kicked around mandating seatbelts on school buses. There was a time not too long ago where they were going to mandate that this happen, but it was only when funding was available, and then they never came up with the funding to do so. And this past session in Senate Bill, I've got it down here somewhere, 693, they approved a mandate to add seatbelts to buses and put the requirement on the shoulders of school districts. So essentially, there is an unfunded mandate to add seatbelts on buses that are 2018 and newer. School districts have the opportunity to review or opt out, if you will, of that requirement based on signing a resolution, based on budgetary constraints and things of that nature. So what we did was, we kind of sat back and had a discussion with administration team, talked to our transportation folks, looked at obviously the budgetary constraints. Our buses right now cost approximately $95,000 per unit. The estimated cost to add seat belts on new buses is around $10,000 per unit. At this point, we've purchased 3 2018 buses, so we are at a point where we must make a decision as to whether we're going to move forward and adhere to the new Senate bill or to opt out, if you will. And so obviously looking at other factors in terms of trying to determine if we did move forward with seatbelts on the buses, how we would determine who would ride on those 3 buses and so forth and so on. And looking at the cost associated with retrofitting all of our fleet, it would cost somewhere between 1.3 and 1.5 million. So that really was not something that was feasible. We also looked at other situations such as enforcement or the ability to properly enforce the use of the seatbelts on the buses, the possible need to hire additional staff to assist our younger kiddos with their seatbelts and things of that nature. And essentially, at the end of the day, have decided that we are recommending opting out of the seatbelt requirement, primarily based on our budgetary constraints. Now, should we address this issue in the future when dollars are available, or when we're considering additional or new bond issues, and we wanted to make that a priority, we still have the opportunity to do that. But we need to address the issue now because we have 3 new buses. Essentially, like I said, based on the estimated cost, it would cost us about $30,000 right now. That's not specifically budgeted for, but then it would also cost us an extra $10,000 per bus hereafter. Obviously, we still firmly believe that our buses are probably the safest route for our kiddos to get to and from school. That's something that we've prided ourselves on as a transportation department as well. So again, it's kind of an unfortunate situation to be put into, candidly, even though on the surface the intention appears to be good, if you will, from our legislators, because it is essentially an unfunded mandate. But we do have the opportunity to opt out based on budgetary constraints. So.
And we realize that really we're just making this decision for these 3 buses that we're going to be buying for this current school year. And so, as Eric pointed out, I mean, we're going to probably have to have some discussions in future bonds. Do we want to, proceed down that road, retrofit, so we have a good explanation as to who actually is going to be on a bus with seat belts equipped on them. And definitely be the next bond we have. We'll have those conversations, but we need to move on with these 3 buses and be able to buy those, and then we'll have those considerations. In fact, as we understand the law, every time we buy a bus, we'll have to have another resolution if we don't put seat belts on them, or we'll have to comply with the law.
And it's 10,000 a bus for 100-odd buses that we've got if we went back, right?
If we did, yes, sir.
Yeah.
In terms of making it consistent, yes, sir. Obviously, no one cares more about safety than we do, but we understand the constraints as well, so.
You guys have any questions? Okay, then, if there aren't any questions or comments, what we need is a motion to approve this resolution, determine the district's budget does not permit purchase of 3-point seatbelt buses as presented. A motion by Joe, seconded by Kelly. All in favor? So that motion passes. And you have one more, Dr. Moore.
Yes, sir, thank you. On 9E, consider and approve resolution and order authorizing the donation of district funds to Little Cypress Mauriceville. Obviously, the board is well aware, we adopted a district that was in need as a result of the damage from Hurricane Harvey. We have had a tremendous amount of donations flow into the district. I was joking with Ms. Maxwell earlier during the break, but there's been a significant amount of coinage come through the business office in the last few weeks from our elementary folks in particular that we've, but tonight, for the focus tonight is on the athletic gate receipts from our Magnolia Bowl. Recall we had decided and we publicized the fact that we were going to utilize those gate proceeds as a portion of our donation to LCM to help them rebuild in terms of focusing on athletic equipment and things of that nature. But in order to do so, we need to adopt a resolution as those funds are generally intended for a public benefit for our students. So obviously it's something we've publicized, it's something that we're glad to do. Spoke with Ms. Myers earlier today. Our original target as a whole was $50,000, and I'm proud to announce, and we're still working on that, but I'm proud to announce that we will easily exceed that mark as a whole. In terms of the athletic gate receipts, after removing the operational cost, the proceeds of that event alone just narrowly exceeded $20,000 at $20,317. So something that we're very proud of and happy to do. But again, this resolution essentially allows us to include those proceeds as part of the entire donation, if you will.
Also want to commend all our principals for the efforts they individually had going at all their campuses, all sorts of different things. And I guess that's why we got a lot of coins that
we do.
Elementary kids have been bringing nickels and dimes. But you know what a great opportunity to teach our kids the opportunity to give back to those folks that have been affected by this hurricane. And that's just invaluable. And so I'm so thankful for y'all for allowing us the opportunity to do that.
Our business office is pleading for a coin counter at this point. We never had that issue before.
It's a good problem to have.
Yes, it is. They've done a fantastic job. Yes, sir.
And so we plan a pilgrimage at some point. We're gonna go to one of their board meetings and take a contingent of some of us and maybe even some of our kids and other things and then present that check to them. And you know, a lot of you know that there were a group of them that actually were at the Magnolia Bowl, and they just, you know, I mean, in light of their entire budget, I mean, it's not gonna solve every one of their problems, but just the fact that there were school kids and teachers and other people who were concerned about the issues they were facing meant the world to them. And so I'm just so thankful we had an opportunity to do it and we got a chance to go give that to them and see them move forward with that.
Remember hearing the difficult stories of some of them watching their band instruments float away and things of that nature. So
it's a great lesson of empathy for our children too.
Absolutely.
I know you've heard us say this, but just thanks to, we thank all of you guys, all the leadership, because you know the culture of the district is reflected in the leadership. I mean, in the values of the leadership. So we just can't thank you enough for that. And like you said, it teaches students a great lesson. It's just, it's why it's a great thing to be part of Magnolia ISD. So thank you. Okay, so if there aren't any more questions or comments, we need a motion to approve this resolution in order authorizing the donation of district funds to Little Cypress Mauriceville as presented. Motion by Kelly, seconded by Sonia. All in favor? Motion passes. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Okay, Dr. Todd, I think you're next.
What do we have to vote on now? Appraisal District Board. Mr. Tony Filanowski, the chief appraiser, has a board of directors that help him with procedures and operating things of the appraisal district. And so every year we vote on those members. I think there are 5 actual board members that are part. I think there's 1 non-voting member that's a part of it. So each one of the taxing entities within the county has so many votes in order, that's basically based on the size of that entity. So we have 315 votes that we're able to cast. And I've been talking with Mr. Blizzard about some possibilities of how we might want to. We have in the past actually nominated people to sit on that board. Some of the issues become, do you have enough votes to get that one person on there or not? So I think it might be advantageous for us to continue to look at working with other school districts in the county and looking at some of those people that might have school districts' opinions about appraisal issues at forefront, whatever. And so.
So in that vein, yeah, Dr. Todd, there's 3 folks that Conroe ISD is getting behind. Barry Blanton is 1, Bonner Lucy is 2, and Bruce Tuff is 3. Those are the 3 that
They've
Conroe.
nominated.
What?
They nominated those.
Right,
3. Yeah.
right. So they've nominated, they're behind those. Conroe ISD as by way of example. So anyway, those, if we wanted to carve our votes up between those 3, Dr. Todd says we have 315 votes, that's 105 apiece. That's up for discussion, questions, comments?
Say the 3 again, please.
What's that?
Say the 3 again, please.
The top one, Barry Blanton, on the top left, and then the bottom on the left side, Bonar Lucy, the 3rd, and then Bruce Tuff is the next to the last one on the right side of the list.
In past years, we gave all of our votes to 1.
Pardon me?
In past years, we gave all of our votes to 1. Correct.
Yeah, past one, we had nominated some people, and we tried to direct our 300 and so whatever to that one candidate.
But since we didn't nominate any this year, and Conroe ISD nominated these 3, that's one option, is to piggyback and stand behind the ones they've nominated. But if you guys want to go a different direction, that's,
And Conroe's putting all their votes behind those 3.
pardon?
Conroe's putting all their votes behind those 3.
I would assume so, since they nominated those 3, I would assume that's true. So are you guys good with that? You want to go that route?
When's the election? The 15th of December.
Okay.
So we have to turn our vote in by.
So 105 for each guy.
So just so you know, once we're good with this, we're going to have a resolution approving this, and that's it. So anyway, if you guys are good with it, we'll move ahead.
I think if they have their best interests of the school districts at heart, that's probably a good choice.
It's what?
I think it's a good choice if those 3 candidates have the best interests of the school districts.
Mm-hmm. No, thank you. Christie, you got any more questions?
Nope, I'm good.
Joe?
Maybe. If we have to turn this in by the 15th, is there more time for discussion on these candidates? I mean, is there an opportunity to learn a little more about these 3 candidates? I think it's when it has to be turned in is by the 15th, by December 15th.
Ms. Hinkleman?
Yes, sir. Our next board meeting is December the 11th, so if you wanted to do that, we would have to call a special board meeting in order to pass the resolution and turn in your nominees.
We couldn't do it on the 11th?
Because they're due,
I have to be able to get it to them in time.
will they do the 15th of December?
I believe that is correct.
So the 11th would work? Is that-
I can check with them and see, I mean, we could always courier it to them, so we could do it on the 11th.
If we're late, we're
We
late.
could overnight it, so that would work.
I'd feel good about that, too.
I would too. I'd
Same.
rather we have some discussion about it.
Okay. That sounds good.
Okay.
By the 15th is what it says.
Yeah, by the 15th.
And we may end up with the same three, but at
That's
least we...
right, that's right. At least we have some discussion about it, yeah.
Right.
Well, let's move this to this item to the next month, to the next agenda next month. And we'll postpone this. Okay, anything else we need to cover? Dr.
I think
Charles?
that's good.
All right. Going once, going twice. All right, so at this time, the board will recess to move into closed executive session for the purposes permitted by pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.074, personnel discussion and recommendations, and pursuant to Texas Government Code 551.072, discussion of purchase, sale, exchange, or value of real property. So, thank you, guys.
Go ahead.
Where's Trent?
Where'd it go?
Trap. He's out of here.
One.
Okay, I need a motion that we adjourn this meeting. Motion by Sonia, seconded by Kelly. All in favor? Time is 10:27. Thank you.
I am so sorry.